So I have an author on, and she has written a book called, as I said, Power Down, Parent Up. The subtitle is Screen Dependence and Raising Tech Healthy Children. This is so beyond me. I can't even comprehend it. But Holli Kenley, congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
And you were a licensed marriage and family therapist, so this is something that must have come up. Why is this screen dependence? Why is this important? And is it easy to talk about?
Sandy, thank you for having me. And yes, this is a subject that is coming up in the news more and more as we're hearing about screen dependence. And it's a little bit uncomfortable to talk about. It's kind of a sensitive topic because we all love our technology. We communicate with it. We depend on it for our social interaction. And so when we start having a conversation about that there might be some side effects or some problems with it, people feel a little bit uncomfortable about
that.
They
go, me, like that, right?
They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to be judged. And then this is really important, is that if we're participating in this behavior and allowing our children to, no responsible parent wants to do something or have their children engaging in something that might bring them harm. So I approach it with a very friendly approach and try to make it very comfortable, and that's why Power Down and Parent Up is just some bite-sized pieces that are not fear-based, but information-based. I just want to give them enough information, and then they can decide what's best for their family.
Like how to tailor it to their family. Because, and I love this because it's not a really thick book, so it makes it very easy to get your essentials out of it, too. So by writing this book, I mean, you say you just want to make it like easy, but what do you hope parents take away from Power Down, Parent Up?
What I hope, Sandy, is that, and again, this is just so important, is that we are not here to ban technology or to say we have to do away with it, but that we can open up a conversation about finding balance with our technology, because the research that I've been looking at it for the past several years, well, about 10 years ago I started looking at cyberbullying, so I've kept learning and researching about this. There are some very, very serious concerns. And so we're not going to say just get rid of it. That's ridiculous. That's not going to happen.
Never gonna work,
but how is it that we can find balance with our families, and why should we have balance? So we have to become informed first, and then we can decide how we want to move forward. And I've given them the steps and the tools to do that.
Well, this is so fascinating because, you know, addiction is a big thing in our society, but, and you're saying screen dependent, so it's very nice, but is this like addiction, Holli?
Thank you for picking up on that. I really struggled finding the subtitle for this book because I didn't want to instill fear into parents. There's a really good book that I read, and any book that I mentioned this morning is in the bibliography of the book. And it was by Dr. Adam Alter, and it's called Irresistible: The Rise of Addictive Technology and the Business of Keeping Us Hooked. And so, yes, we are talking about what we call behavioral addiction. And the way that Dr. Alter describes it is sometimes something comes into our lives that is our harmonious passion. It enhances our lives, it improves it, it makes it better. But over time, with excess usage, consumption, it goes into the category of obsessive passion. And that's when we slip into that behavioral addiction. It meets a need in the short term, but in the long term, there are some adverse consequences. We have a very difficult time resisting the behavior, very much like a substance addiction.
I got really hooked on solitaire years ago.
Yeah.
I had to finally delete it because, I mean, seriously, I'm not an addictive personality, but it was so fun.
Yes.
But it happens somehow when, you know, with these things. And we pack them around now. And, you know, I will go to the movies and people just can't, they're like, through the previews, they're still like, you know, they just can't hardly, I mean, is that some of the adverse behavior? What would you say 2 or 3 things that are really adverse in our lives if we get too overboard on it?
Okay, thank you, Sandy, for asking that again. Is that, and my concern is for adults, but it's really around children. And that's why I really put into the book what I'm talking about, because I think sometimes, Sandy, we forget that children's brains are still developing. In fact, we know that the prefrontal cortex doesn't fully develop till mid to late 20s. So when we're putting a piece of technology in front of them, and again, I have so much research behind this, one of the areas that really concerns me is the cognitive and the brain damage and the cognitive effects. And I mentioned Dr. Alter a minute ago. He's a behavioral specialist in addiction. And he talks about, as do other experts, that when we are introducing children to this addictive technology, that we are tapping into the reward pathways prematurely. Because whether it's social networking, like doing a like, or a share or a repost, or the gaming, that reward-motivated behavior causes dopamine surges in the brain. And that's a feel-good neurotransmitter that is associated with addictive behavior.
Interesting. And this is when they're little. I just saw this little video, and it was so funny. It was this little child, like let's say 2, not able to actually talk yet, but modeling also the parents' behavior. And so it was like that. And it was like hilarious, but not funny in some sense, because again, I think that parenting, the modeling that we do is, that spreads out to the kids as well.
Yes, very much so, Sandy. And I like to come from information-based and not instill fear. But the American Academy of Pediatrics has some really strong recommendations about usage. And 5 years ago, in 2013, they put out a policy on recommendations, and they were suggesting that there are no electronic devices whatsoever in bedrooms. And that from age 2 on up, the children have no more than 2 hours of recreational screen time.
Well, I tell you, it is such a, I mean, it is such an, I'm not a parent, hence I think this would be hard, but there's so much to learn. And I mean, having the key points in here, and then people can go to the bibliography, look up more information, because there's, I mean, it's electronic screen syndrome. It's like, we now have a new term, okay?
Yes.
Because this is really important, as you say, it affects all of our brains in many, many ways, and our family relationships and everything. Powered Down Parent Up, where can we get it? Amazon?
Can get it Amazon. Here in Prescott, I have it at the Prescott Art Market out by the mall.
Oh, okay.
But Amazon too.
All right, worldwide. Thank you so much, Holli Kenley.
Thank you.